Welcome to the 30/30 Health Podcast. The following discussion is for education and entertainment. It is not intended to diagnose or treat disease. Please do not apply any of this information without first discussing it with your doctor. Here is your host, Dr. Ruiz.
Hello everyone, super excited about my guest today. My guest today is Erwan Le Corre, creator of the MovNat system, and he's here to talk about his new book, The Practice of Natural Movement. Also, AHS 2019 is less than a month away. Make sure you get tickets to this awesome event. I hope you enjoyed the show. Hello everyone, super excited to be here with a person that I've been following for a very long time, and I never thought there was a chance in hell that I was going to be able to one day interview him. Erwan Le Corre. Erwan, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Guillermo?
It's an honor to have you on the show, dude. I have been following your work for a very, very long time. Before other people started talking about natural movement, you were talking about this. So you were one of the founders of this train of thought. It's really cool to have you here. Before we start, I want to tell you a kind of embarrassing story from my side. Around 2012, you did a seminar in Orlando, Florida.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I was going to move across the country, and I didn't have money to sign up for the seminar. So you guys were training people at Lake Eola. And I kind of walked out there and I sat in the park bench and I kind of took notes while I was watching you guys, pull yourselves over from a tree. And I was like, man, one day I'm going to take this MovNat, cert. So I apologize. Don't do that, folks. But, thank you for that. One day I'll be there with you guys training. But okay, so before we start the interview.
By the way, I didn't see anything embarrassing in that story. I think it's super cute and it's brilliant. It shows the passion you have already, and we're willing to make it happen.
Oh, dude, I was just sitting there eating my lunch, like just looking at you guys and taking notes, man. It was so cool. So, how did you come into this paleo movement? How did you start? What's your hero story?
So, first off, I am my own movement. My movement is MovNat, it's natural movement. And then early on, when I moved into the US, that was 10 years ago, that's when I really started to make what I do happen in my brain, my method emerge. That's also when the paleo community forms. It's really at the inception of it. That's how it became part of it. But from my perspective, I've always been on my movement, regardless of whatever the world does around it. So there are some bridges that are made, and they're awesome. But prepare for natural movement to become, just like paleo, one of those life-changing movements and lifestyles that will change many lives. That's the goal. That's where I'm headed. And if I belong to a movement, I belong to the movement I've been creating all along.
So can you describe a little bit about what is like the thesis or what's the hypothesis? What were you looking at within the fitness that you were like, this is all wrong?
That's a good question because when I was young, when I was a kid, I grew up moving naturally. That's what I did. I was running and jumping, climbing, doing all these things. A lot of guys around my age also say, well, that's what I used to do. I think they probably used to. I can tell you that I did it more than any other kid around me. And so it was really what I was doing. So later on, when I was a teenager, I got exposed to conventional methods of training, which are based on bodybuilding. My brothers did that. They make themselves look big. I tried. I did bench press and started to do pull-ups, and it wasn't bad. There wasn't anything bad in it. It gave me a sense of understanding the importance of strength and how to train strength, the importance of repetition and consistency, and the importance of overload, resistance training, whatever you call that. I didn't know much about any of those terms at that time, But they were making me do those muscle isolation drills. They work. They have their effect. I felt stronger. That was good. There was nothing wrong with it. What I would say I realized was wrong is to watch people who were exclusively doing that, in the sense that there's a whole industry for fitness that's based still to this day around that idea that muscle strength and then you do cardio, and that's it. But there's something wrong about the whole thing is that it leads people, millions of people, into believing that this is what exercise primarily is, and that you need to do those drills and use those machines and go to those gyms to be fit. I don't say that gyms are wrong. I don't say that bodybuilding is wrong because it makes some people happy and satisfied. It's their choice. I can't say it's wrong. What I would say is not good is to let millions of people believe that this is the way. But that's pretty much all there is to your physical fitness. Whereas what I teach and inspire people to do, to train, to become is all these real natural movements that are useful in the real world, that will give you strength, that will give you cardio, that will give you balance, coordination, stamina, you name it, on top of practicing real skills for the real world that have been around for as long as humans have been around. So to not see that potential, to not acknowledge in today's society that reality that's timeless, this is what is wrong. This is what I want to change. This is what I've been changing.
It's easy to see how bench pressing or squatting can translate to being stronger. But you hear this argument about, I want to be able to, when I'm 90, get up from my bed, so I need to have good hamstrings. Or if I'm practicing, MovNat and I want to pull myself over a tree, having upper body strength in order to carry yourself over and do kind of like a press, if you're stronger, you're going to be able to do it. So it's easy in our very preconceived notions, knowing that you can use these exercises and translate them to a MovNat environment. How would you explain to a complete noob, someone that has never seen the videos or the exercises you're talking about, how moving naturally can translate the other way to having better mobility, better flexibility, and better technique for things like the squat, the bench press, and the push?
When you approach fitness, before I somewhat describe to people who don't have any idea what I'm talking about, natural movement. So that's a set of skills that humans do universally, regardless of their ethnicity and background. All these things that all new kids, young kids do or age. You can talk about any particular aspect of a person's identity, their gender, regardless of any of that. Human beings, all of them, are able to walk, run, jump, move on all fours, do ground movements, hang and climb, vault, manipulate objects, lift them, carry them, throw and catch them. We can defend ourselves physically. All these real world movement skills, they are a universal heritage. We all have it. But few people actually practice those skills, especially adults don't. And even today, less and less kids do. So imagine that. What you used to do when you were kids by instinct, you vault over the sofa and step onto a chair and jump off the chair, crawl underneath the table. You would do all these natural movements. Well, imagine if you had never stopped doing that. But on top of that, you would have made it a practice, kind of in a sports or in a martial art discipline approach, where you want to methodically, become more technical, more efficient, and improve also your levels of performance with those movements. Being able to jump, but not in a specialized way. Like imagine you're going to run, you're going to jump over an obstacle, then you're going to climb something. make it a practice. How much, if you had been doing that your whole life as, say, part of your real world physical education, what levels of physical capability would have you reached as an adult and through your whole lifetime? And if you haven't developed that, how come? Why? So not only you can at any moment of your life resume that scope of movement skills, natural movement skills, and make it a practice. This is what MovNat is. And educate yourself to do it. And then you will have all the benefits that you want when you're thinking fitness. How I can get mobility, how can I get strength, how can I get cardio? Well, if you train all the skills at a higher level, you'll have all of it. Whereas if you go to the gym, you're like, oh, I want strength, I want cardio, I want mobility, and you then want to look at the specific drills that give you that, it's kind of a little boring, let's say. It's a task, it's a chore, it's not really enjoyable. And then how do you measure that? And most importantly, how do you verify that the strength and cardio and mobility that you have acquired, they actually work in the real life, through your real life movements? And this is what it should normally all boil down to. Look at what you can do with your body and with that precious strength and cardio and mobility that you have acquired. And are they a finality or are they a mean to an end? And are they actually an outcome of your practice? And that's, if you look at it that way, you start practicing with that, you do the movements you were designed to do, and you become strong, supple, and resistant and resilient at the same time.
I'm 37 years old, okay? And I want to have like as much mobility and I want to have as much, freedom and independence when I'm 80, 90, okay? Within the paleo community, it's really easy to think of, diet. But, movement is so important and sleep is very important. There's so many facets. So what are like some benchmarks that you think every human should have in order to enter into their later stages in life and be able to accomplish, like maybe, a set of pull-ups or maybe, being able to carry someone or, what are some things that you think every human should be practicing in order to have health in the later stages of their lives?
I actually don't have benchmarks because I do and I don't. It's a little complicated. Look, I have some ideas for myself, but I don't want to tell anybody this is what you want to aim at, and this is the benchmark, because everybody's different, and then not everybody may be able to reach those, and some will be able to exceed those. You know what I mean? If you see that's the benchmark, and some people are like, wait a minute, it's way too high, so forget about it, I'm not even trying. Whereas others will be, those are the benchmark. I think those are satisfying, it's okay. You may not see greater levels of performance. My goal is to maintain that real-world physical capability I've talked about for as long as I can, and have some, I would say, non-formal benchmarks in my goal that have a lot to do with that I can feel when there's a specific area where I need to resume my training. That can be running, that can be jumping and landing, that can be particular aspects of my strength, which I will be satisfied again if I reach a certain level of strength, but not by looking at the strength alone, but how I perform specific movements with differently and better, or at a higher level of performance thanks to the strength. So this is very personal. It's just the way you train is always personal. It's whenever you make it standard that it just doesn't work. I don't believe that much.
I'm trying to, we're trying to fit this wrong model of fitness into a natural model of fitness, and we are very goal driven. Like, for example, for someone that doesn't practice the paleo or the ancestral type of lifestyle, their benchmark would be to sneeze and not shit their pants. Like as long as I'm okay, I'm doing that. I'm not. I'm doing okay. But within the health community, we think about, oh, I want to deadlift, 315 or 3 plates.
That's good. Well, those are good. Those are good benchmarks. Can you squat with an amount of weight that's at least equivalent to your own weight? Can you carry a person over a distance that is at least your own weight? Can you pull yourself from a horizontal bar and actually climb on top of that bar? Can you just be comfortable in the deep squat at any time? Can you, from a standing position and sitting without letting your hands, elbows, or knees on the floor in the transition, which means you have great mobility actually. Can you, if you have to step outside and run 10 miles nonstop right now, can you do it? And do you have an idea of how long it's going to take you? And if you don't know if you can do it, that's because probably you've never done it. How come you've never done it? If you are a grown-up, regardless of your age, that you are 50, 60, 30, or 20, or 18, and you can't do one freaking pull-up or hang with enough strength, or you can't actually deep squat, and you have shallow breathing, you're either really skinny, you don't have much strength, you don't have much vitality, maybe you're overweight. Look, this is not a judgment, this is an observation. You are not clearly healthy and fit and capable physically. Is it a problem to you or not? That is the question. To me, that's a huge problem for myself if I was in that condition. Never have, and never intend to. But you have millions of people out there who are in that situation, and it's seen as normal. It's that the elements, the benchmarks you're talking about, those elements of capability, because that's really what they are, supposed to indicate how capable are you. Can you do this? Can you do that? Can you do this? Can you do that? And we're not talking about a wheel cart or a handstand. We're talking about like a really practical movement that would be really useful at any time in a given circumstance in your life. And you realize you're not capable of that. That's a problem. Millions of people are in that situation, don't even see it. So you can't even judge if something is a problem or not when you don't even see it. It's a situation or there's a condition. You don't look at it. That's what normalcy does to people. It makes them accept things that are never supposed to be examined, questioned. So if you don't question that for yourself, then you don't have a problem. Nothing is apparently wrong. If you do look at it, and what is your appreciation of the condition? Are you happy with it? Are you going to let it go for your whole life? Or are you going to be, okay, this is not actually who I choose to be. That's not me. The person I want to be is actually stronger and more capable than that. That's what I want. Okay, where do I start?
A big problem is, within the inadequacy of going to a gym or not knowing the movements. It is difficult enough to learn how to properly squat with a bar without hurting yourself. And there's a lot of misinformation that squatting is going to hurt your knees.
Listen, squatting is going to hurt your knees the same way thinking is going to hurt your brain.
That's great.
That's only if you do it wrong.
How many times have you heard people say, oh, I don't squat because it hurts, I don't want to hurt my knees, or I don't squat because I don't want to hurt my back?
Oh, okay. So there's two ways to look at this. When they say they don't want to hurt their knees or do want to hurt their back, they may not. They may say, I believe those movements are harmful. I'm not hurt. They won't give me pain. But I believe that if I do these movements, somewhat they are dangerous for my health. That's properly insane. It's just like saying, hey, if I have those thoughts, it will hurt my brain. They may not be good thoughts, but they're not actually damaging your brain. They're not damaging your brain because you have thoughts, you're just changing your brain. So other way is that they actually have had an experience of kneeling or squatting that is actually painful. And there could be a reason for that. That could be the way they do the movement, but that might have to do with their physiological state, that they are unhealthy because of inflammation, because of the lifestyle, because of the stress, because of so many possible reasons that are going to make your physiology super sensitive like that. But it also could be that they have developed the fear for those movements because they have become uncomfortable, mostly because they don't practice them. And it can be a combination of all of that. It can be that they're physiologically out of shape, they have a lot of inflammation in their tissues, so movement hurts. It could be that they also have just a lack of function. The tissues are not really ready and strong enough to do the movement without painful or uncomfortable sensations. And then thirdly, it could be that they do it wrong also. They do it in a position that's just not the best. So if they were to modify the position, maybe it would be their squat, it would be just better. All of that is possible. It's dedication, right? But you have to wonder, how do we end up in a society where even young people fear deep squatting or kneeling? That is really look. We could use the word softening, but truly, I'm going to tell you the real word that must be pronounced, and it's a very difficult word to hear, but it's the word degeneration. Because what is basically aging or being out of shape, it's a deconditioning, and ultimately it becomes a deterioration. But when it's premature, when it happens at a stage of your life, because of a number of reasons, lifestyle, part of the lifestyle, the entire lifestyle, it's a degeneration. It's a lack of health or reduced health when there should be health at this normal stage in a regular person.
That box gym is setting the stage for degeneration, because people thinking that they're going to get hurt squatting, maybe it's their first time at the gym, and instead of performing a deep squat, they look at the Smith machine and they think, oh, that looks safer. So then they go and now they're doing unnatural movements on an axis without, any balance, without a counter in activating agonist and antagonist muscles. And they are just, not getting the neuronal pathways activated. And then they get conditioned to that movement, and now their knees hurts. One thing that I read many years ago, in what I try to explain to anyone that says, oh, the squat hurts my knees, and that's why I don't go below parallel, is that the knee joint is a hinge joint, and it's not supposed to load weight. So if you're stopping the weight before you go below parallel, now you are using that joint that is very unstable to support the weight that you have, whether it's your body weight or any weight on your back. So that's why it's so necessary, on top of being a natural movement, to go below parallel. This is very complicated for someone that maybe just discovered health, and maybe they went to the doctor and the doctor said, you know what, you need to start exercising. How do you introduce someone without any prior, physical activity experience? Maybe, some mom who never got into, exercise. How do you present this information without being overwhelming?
Well, precisely. So if you're a mom and you have children around and they're moving, they are the best example of what you could be doing to, of course, an extent that is acceptable to yourself. But aren't they crawling on all fours? Are they kneeling? Aren't they squatting? Aren't they hanging? Aren't they standing and walk it there. Just look at the variety of movement they do. And right, so see, they don't do it. It's not structured, but it's consistent. But it's not structured. They don't count. They don't look at. They don't think muscles. They don't even think. They just feel. They feel the movement, and it's all about practical ways to move. They want to be in a kneeling position because at some point that's how they play, or in a squat position because that's how they reach something. In a hanging position just because it feels great. It feels great in their bones, in their muscles, in their tissues, in their rib cage, in their spine, and it just the movement feels great. So why don't you imitate them a bit? When they go on all fours with them. You don't have to do it for a whole hour. You can do it for a few minutes, or you can do it a few times a day and see how it works. See how instead of either only standing or only sitting, you could make yourself familiar with the ground, with movement close to the ground again, and see how, just a few days, if you do a bit of that every day, you will feel more mobile, more flexibility, more balance. If you also do the hanging movements or some of the slight, jumping movements they do and all that, maybe it will also make you feel stronger.
To anyone listening as an adult, when was the last time you jumped? I remember one time many years ago seeing my dad jump, like we're watching some soccer or something and he jumped and I was like, whoa, that was strange.
Well, yeah, we've reached a point where natural movements have become strange to people. But you see, like you're talking about, okay, let's give, say, a mom at home or a person who works from home or something like that, some ideas of what they could do, something simple. And well, why don't you just move all fours and balance on the 2x4 board? Just simple movements like that, natural movements. And then it's, oh wait, but I don't know exactly what to do. It becomes so complicated all of a sudden. So if I'm telling you, hey, you're going to do 10 push-ups, whatever, glute drills, whatever, explain to people what the drill exactly is, and they have to do it 10 times. This is simple, right? But if you just tell them, just intuitively, listen to your intuition and just imitate your kids a bit, explore. And then that becomes complicated. That becomes like, wait, give me exactly the program. I want a specific program, all that specificity, the clarity, those goals. But that's just the mindset. And if you want to understand what natural movement is, you have to let go of that mindset. You get to become a kid again. And then that doesn't mean that in the end you're not having results, because eventually you can do the things that I do and that my trainers do when they run and jump and fall and have this amazing physical capability. And that's not just like having fun, rolling around in your living room. That's real world capability again. So where do you start? Well, you start with the simplicity of those movements, and then you become more technical, more efficient with them, and also stronger, more powerful, more accurate with all these skills, more adaptable.
We have an epidemic of lack of movement. Like the inefficiency of simply getting off from work and going to the gym. I don't understand how people do it. Drive 10 minutes to it, get there, change, put things in their locker, then go.
Okay, Guillermo, I'm gonna stop you right there. You say you don't understand how people do this. I'm pretty sure that you can look at right now some of the things you used to do, or that you still do, but the way you used to do them, and even maybe a year ago or 10 years ago, and tell yourself, I don't understand why was I thinking, right? You're like, this doesn't work for me. I don't understand how I even did it in the first place, right? Or did it that way. So it's either something you used to do that you don't do anymore, or something that you used to do that you still do, but you just do it differently, which is a better way.
Yeah.
Right?
Totally.
Okay.
Yeah.
Your understanding has changed. Your preferences have changed. your expectations that change. So when you say you don't understand why people do something different, well, you have to understand that you too do something different in relation to your former self. We all do. It's improvement. So now your view of it is that this is not the right way, it's not the best way, it's not even a healthy way. Now that's your perspective. And that perspective, I agree with it, but that doesn't mean that we cannot understand why people do that, because it is their gig. Like, do I understand why people spend their life painting or manufacturing mini trolls and painting them to put in their backyard? Right? Whatever you're passionate about. Here's the question: does it make you healthier? Does it at least keep you healthy? Is there something healthier? So maybe a better way to put it is to say, I believe there are healthier ways to approach your body and training of the body that are not only more effective, but also more profitable, more beneficial, in the sense of beneficial to the whole person, not just to their strength, but also to their, again, mobility, to their physiological levels of health, and including also energy levels throughout the day and all that way. You simply wish them and you believe you have found those ways, and you're very excited about those ways that you believe are very good. It doesn't matter what people do. Maybe at some point you did exactly the same. I did the same. At some point I tried and it didn't work for me. But you can either think two ways. One is that they're satisfied with it. But what are you going to do about it? Some people are satisfied doing that, right? It's okay. Two, some of them keep doing it, they're not satisfied. You can only hope that they will find more satisfying, more beneficial ways. What is it your concern? It's not. But if you want to make it your concern, then you got to be that example you want to see in the world, and that's it. Do the best to. And I totally understand, because too often I've talked about the issues I see with conventional training, and I still will keep talking about that. But I would never think what's wrong with these people, because I can certainly see myself or somebody else maybe think of, okay, what's wrong with one point? I can see in some of that aspects of how I train, how I thought, how I live my life, how come I did that or did that way? But this is also what led me to understand how to be and do things I am and do today in the way I do. It's very philosophical, but it's really what it is. You found better ways for yourself. You want to talk about it. You want to share those. You want to really focus on that and spread the word.
That is a great point. I loved the way you reframed that, because, that system might work for some people and they're going to thrive in it and they're going to be healthier than if they were not moving or doing anything. So let's talk about your book, The Practice of Natural Movement, because for these people that cannot comprehend, and they're trying to fit into this model that doesn't work, now they have a resource to kind of show them this more efficient, more healthy way of movement. How do you come about to your book? What can we learn from the book? What are some points that you want to drive to people that are going to pick it up? And by the way, beautiful tome. It looks like it's just so nice, to hold it, with the hardcover, and it looks like almost like a university, textbook.
Yeah,
it's pretty amazing.
Yes, a lot of people say that. They're like, oh my God, it's like a Bible and an encyclopedia. It's like a chunky book, almost like an entire course on a subject. It is, but not that you want to be intimidated, because the way it is written is very simple and clear. There's no nerdiness to it. So it's basically a substantial amount of material, but that is 100% dedicated to be practical. So it's not about let's talk about science, and let's talk about concepts. for the sake of it. It's like, how can we understand this so that when we practice, it just you learn faster, better and faster. That's always been the goal. So what are people going to learn from that book? First up, the whole it starts with the philosophy. It starts with why is it that we've been ignoring that natural movement in us for so long? Why is it that our whole culture dismisses that potential? All the young kids do it around us. It's their sport, right? That's their sport. It's their activity. It's their physical activity. That's what every kid does. But it has no name. It has no recognition. People don't even think it has any value. It's just kids play. And you're supposed to depart from it as early as possible. Okay, so if you can intuitively or reasonably, even if you can agree with that idea, but all these movements we used to do when we were kids, we were supposed, they had a value, they had a reason, and we were supposed to keep doing them. Never stop. And that because we stopped, it has taken away a part of our development, a part of who we are. So we're talking about jumping, climbing, hanging, swinging, vaulting, crawling, rolling, kneeling, getting up, getting down in many diverse ways, lifting, carrying many diverse ways. We're talking about all these movements. And instead of doing that, instead of this being our physical exercise,
it's just part of your life, you know?
Right. It's almost like something weird. No, that's not reasonable. We should just go to the gym, do strength, and then do cardio. That's it. Or we should have some kind of sports. I'm going to do tennis. I'm going to do running, jogging. I'm going to do whatever. It's all good that all these physical activities are valuable. But the original most ancient physical activity we have experienced as young kids when we're doing all these movements. We could do it again with all the benefits. Again, the technical movement competency, the strength, the stamina, the mobility, the accuracy, the coordination, the balance, all of it, the self-confidence, the self-esteem, because you become capable of it, the capability with your body that applies to the real world. No fitness industry, no fitness program ever really speak like that and offers that and says this is what you could have, and that's a big deal. That's what you find in the book. You find the whole philosophy that explains that, and then that's only 20% of the book. So 80% of the book is entirely dedicated to teaching you that how to breathe efficiently, the principles of movement efficiency, and then you get into the details of how do you do that get up. How do you do that other get-up? Oh, did you even know that those get-ups also exist? Or maybe you've done it once when you were a kid, never tried again, but can you do it today? And if you can, how do you do it? What makes it work? What makes it not work? What makes it efficient? What makes it fail? Well, the book explains all of that. So if you feel that somehow you've been failed by the fitness industry, by the idea of muscle isolation, working out on machines, and you've never believed in that, it's always bored you, you've tried, and it didn't work. In fact, there's never found any way of exercising that have felt satisfying, not just to your body, but also to your mind. Well, then give it a shot to natural movement. And there's a method for it, it's called MovNat, and there's a book, and you can learn everything about it.
This is something new that I'm going to try with my guests. And like this, you're the second guest that I ask this to. Okay.
All right.
So what defines you?
There's nothing that defines me. I define my what. There's no what defines me. I define my what. And my what is goodness.
That's awesome, dude.
That's it. With everything it entails.
Just helping people and helping yourself and helping your family and being good to others.
What's the promise of life? What's the expectation from life? To have the best life you can. So you have to live it within first. So you have to be very selective with how you feel and how you think. And my practice in life is to constantly improve in that regard. And so why? Because that's how you live goodness within. And then, through what I do, I support myself and my family, and I help people. So all this is goodness. It's goodness to me and my family, my loved ones, and it's goodness to people who learn and implement and practice this, which is a physical training, but it's also a lifestyle, it's a natural movement lifestyle, it's a movement practice. And what happens then when they do? They have more goodness in their life because there are so many rewards physiologically and psychologically to that practice. And then you keep amplifying that.
And you have been doing this for a very long time, and I admire that, man. So where can people find you? How can people get the book? Any MovNat courses, anything going on?
The book is available on Amazon and other places, but primarily on Amazon, published by Victory Belt Publishing. And otherwise, you can go on MovNat.com. It's spelled MovNat.com. And it's where you will find a lot of information and also places where you can train and some of the workshops that you can do that you either want to train to learn for yourself or that you want to become certified and be able to teach others. You will find all of that on MovNat.com.
It has been a pleasure. I can't wait, one day, to attend and meet you in real life. Thank you so much for the interview. You're a wealth of knowledge, and thanks for all your work. And dude, you are doing good. You are doing your what?
Thank you so much, Guillermo. And I can see and sense that you do too. So good job on that, man.
Thank you so much, and I'll talk to you soon. Okay.
All right. Talk to you soon.